Greetings. We are live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. That's my innermost Bill O'Reilly. All right, welcome. I'm Mark, your host. I'm coming to you from lovely Marion, Michigan, and this is the Anyone Can Farm Experience live chat, Tuesday night, April 11th, 2023. Welcome. I'd like to welcome all of our new members. I know we're going to have a lot of them because we've just had like at least 500 new people come into the tribe in a very short time. I'd say 5 days. Joe made a video. I think it was last week, and then he posted it a few days ago, and it's just been unbelievable. There's a real thirst out there for people wanting to find fellowship in the small farms community, homesteading community. So it's really cool that all those people have come in. So I'm going to try and work this a little bit. A lot of you old timers know the direction that we go, but I'm going to take it a little bit slow. Let's see. I usually like to start off by telling you what my day was. And I think it's kind of important. I've explained this before, but I think it's important because I am taking a break right now to do this show. This isn't what I do. You know, I actually am the head cook and bottle washer here at Baker's Green Acres. We're a 150-acre farm. Our land mass has fluctuated, but now we're at 152 acres, actually. And we're a diversified outfit. We do, let's see, we milk some cows. I have 5 cows. We do beef. I've got probably 12 beef, steers. We do pastured poultry. I've got about 300 of them going right now. Laying hens, got probably about 75 of them. We do Mangalitsa pigs. I think we're the longest standing family in the United States doing Mangalitsa pigs. We started it way, way back. I'd say about 2009 is when we got started with that. Maybe even before that. We have a butcher shop on the farm, so we do a lot of that. We bottle up our milk and we do herd shares, but we sell milk, basically, is what it comes down to. We do a lot of firewood, but just for ourselves. A lot of produce, basically for ourselves. I grow extra in big fields that I call grow fields, and those are for the animals. So I grow a lot of my own feed. We cut a lot of hay. And let's see, grow mushrooms. And then we have a component to Baker's Green Acres that's educational. And we've been doing that for over 10 years. We teach hog processing. We teach chicken processing. Actually, the chicken processing is a little bit more than that. We teach the whole discipline of pastured poultry. I didn't make it up. We've just gotten good at it. We've been doing that a long time. We've been on this farm. This is our 19th year come this May. I retired from the U.S. Air Force in 2004. I was a Boy Scout. I'm an aircraft mechanic by trade. I've done a lot of things. I weld. I'm a pretty good carpenter. Good enough. A good homestead carpenter. I do a lot of engineering, right? So I think up things and I write them down and I build them. I'm a homesteader. I like to grow things, fix things, and build things. That's what I like to do. And we're not done. We're moving ahead right now. I think the most exciting thing that I'm doing right now, well, it's tough. It's tough to say. But our old butcher shop, we're converting it into a store/cafe, because when we do our teaching classes like Homestead Hog Harvest, we do that in the fall. That's a 3-day class. So we wind up having to feed people, lunch and dinner on a couple of days. So we need a place to do it. All right. We got Belva's with us. Hi. My daughter-in-law, Faylene, is with us. Hi there. And Roni, my little boy. Dion's with us. Talking to Dion lately. Get some secrets. Dave and Sonia is with us. David Duncan's with us. The Jay-Z is with us. Have been waiting all week for this. Really? Keith Sutton's with us. S&J Farm Kirkland LLC. I think you're new. I don't recall seeing that before, but welcome. Welcome, everybody. Before I get rolling too much, let's see, where was I? I was just telling you all the things we do. And for my day today was, today's my day to milk. And so I have 5 milk cows, but we're milking 3 of them right now. 2 of them are ladies in waiting, right? One of them's going to freshen in May. Let's see. Stripey girl I'm not sure when she's going to freshen. I'd have to check the schedule. So I'm working on, so anyway, today was my day to milk. So I was done with milking chores by about 11. All right. Got a little bit of a late start today. Me and the wife were doing some stuff. I work the place with my wife and my kids. My son, Joe, he's my second oldest son. He's the one that does all the media. All right. So sometimes me or my kids or Jill star in these videos that he's putting out. And you can find those on Instagram, Baker's Green Acres. No. The Anyone Can Farm Experience on Instagram. You can find additional videos on the Anyone Can Farm Experience on YouTube, where you are right now, and the Anyone Can Farm Tribe, which is a Facebook page. And then there's always the good and trusty, tried and true Baker's Green Acres Facebook page. And that one's been around for a long time. If you want to be friends with me, you can go to Mark Baker on Facebook, for what that's worth. So I milked today. And then when I got done with that, let's see, what did I do? Oh, we're finishing up moving the butcher shop over to the new butcher shop, which used to be our maintenance shop, but we needed more room. And then I started doing some organizing, getting things where they go. Coming out of winter, things are a little bit laying around here and there. Did a little FOD walk today. Those of you that know what the FOD walk is, that's foreign object and debris, and that stuff's got to be picked up. Coming out of the winter, that's what you have. A lot of stuff laying around. All right, Debbie Van Fossen's with us. Amy Stumpo's with us, right? And Brian Jacobs with us. Wow, we got the family here. Ooh, Amy, I was supposed to post a picture of my selfie with my favorite cow. I took the picture, but I did not post it. I will do that right after, because I know I've been detailed to do that, so I need to do it. Maybe I could show everybody here. Let me keep it moving here. Yeah, there it is. That's me and Ruby. Yep. I'm going to post that. I'll put it on my Facebook page. It's a selfie with your favorite cow challenge that Amy put out there. And I've been a little remiss in my duties, but I've been very busy. I've been working in research and development lately. And, it takes up a lot of my time. Plus, I do a lot of thinking, right? I'm like Henry Ford. I have to take time during the day to just sit and think. So I did some of that. I don't think I left the farm today. No, I didn't. I have a pump that I use to milk the cows, and it malfunctioned the day before yesterday. And I worked on it for 8 hours the day before yesterday, and then 8 hours yesterday. And I'm not kidding. I took it apart and put it back together 15 times. I kept thinking, well, this is it. Well, this is it. Well, this is it. Well, that wasn't it. So I never did get it to run. It's supposed to make 15 millibars of vacuum, or 14, and it would work, and then it would just drop off slowly. And so I tried everything. I'm going to turn it over to the professionals, but I wound up getting another one from Mr. Higgins that is only the pump, right? The motor was shot on it, and the tank was shot, rotted out. And I'm going to put that over on my tank and use my motor. And I'll have one good unit that'll get me by for a while. We are working on building out our milk house, our milk parlor and milk house. And for those of you that haven't been here, this is a really old farm, and they had a system for taking care of cows. They had a 10-cow dairy here, and that was back in 1910 or so, and they kept it going right up to World War II. And then things kind of changed, and they got into big dairies and milking a lot of cows, and the price of milk just went down. And so guys would say, well, if I milk 100 cows, then but it doesn't really work that way. So anyway, milking a couple of cows is a good thing. I must say it's a nice little stream on the homestead. We're going to get into this. You usually have several streams of income. It's not just one thing. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I understood that. You really are subject to the seasons, right? So in the wintertime, I can't do pastured poultry. Can't be done. I have no pasture available, and it snows and it's really cold. But by the same token, I don't want to be processing beef in July because there's flies, and I would need to be in some place and have the temperature artificially turned down. Well, that means I'm going to have a huge electric bill. So we're going to get into that too. All right. So that's kind of what I did today. And we have a chicken processing business. We process chickens for other people Fridays, and our first Friday is coming up this coming Friday. So the entire chicken line had to be moved over to the other shop. We got to hook water to it. We got to hook electrical service to it, and we have to hook propane to it, right? And I don't have any of that stuff hitched up. We just moved the equipment over there and kind of got a feel for what it will look like. And it's a flow issue. You have to have stuff that flows. We have to have shade when the birds are dropped off. We want them to be in the shade. They can't be in the full sun. So this move to the new shop is going to work out good for us. We're also moving into a cooler building in the summertime, and it will it's going to work out. It's going to work out better for everybody. But I have tomorrow, Wednesday, and I have Thursday to get everything done. So I'm going to be hustling. When I get done here, I got to get out and get all the electrical pulled down from the old shop and get it moved over there. It's a 220 run, and I don't have that in the new shop, so I got to run that. So it's a few things I got to do. I'll make it. I work better under pressure, for sure. All right, so our subject for tonight is, let's see, I have to get my spectacles on. I appreciate everybody coming by. Look forward to this all week myself. This is fun for me to do this. It really is. Okay, here's the intro. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres, where we teach you to do the thing so you can have the power, right? It's our new tagline. All right, our topic tonight is going to be homesteading and raising kids. Is it worth it? Notice I have that questioning inflection in my voice. All right, before we get into that, this show is going to be sponsored by Tribe Plus, and the link is in the description. If you're not a member of Tribe Plus, you're going to want to be, because you will get discounts on LEM equipment. LEM equipment, they make all butchering equipment, and we've used them for years. That's really all we've used. You can get 15% off for any order over $50. And then Roots and Harvest, that's worth checking out too. You can get a lot of processing equipment for like killing cones, pasture poultry equipment. It's sort of like Lehman's in a way. And also you can get 15% off there for orders over $50. But you got to be a Tribe Plus member. That's the hook. And then Arc Heirloom Seeds, you can get 10% off. And then Field and Forest Mushrooms. You don't get, I don't know how much you get off there. I'm not sure. It doesn't say on my cheat sheet here. Sorry. And then Hyzea Boots, 15% off. Sorry to spring this on you, Stumpos, but we have found another boot. We've used muck boots. We've used dry shods, right? I like the dry shods. They're heavier. So that's that's a liability in my opinion. And they're way more expensive. I paid $140 for mine. These Hyzea boots, I got them for $80, plus I get 15% off. It's hard to turn that down. You know, I don't expect chore boots. These are boots that go up to your knee. They're waterproof. They're insulated, like a muck boot. I don't expect to get 2 years out of them. I just don't. You know, I'm wearing them every day in the wintertime. And then like I wore them today for the morning while I'm milking. I don't expect to get 2 years out of them. I expect to get 1 year. And if I can get away with $80, like, so next year, these Hyzeas, in the trash they go, you know, unless the zombie apocalypse come. And then I would have to wear them for the next 5 years, but then I'd be duct taping them and everything. But in lieu of that, I will just be pitching them and spending another $80 minus 15%. And getting a new pair, because they kind of lose their support of your feet. And these ones, I actually like them. I like them as good as the dry shods. I don't like muck anymore. I don't like them. If you are a member of the Tribe Plus, you also have access to our course material: chicken tractors, fencing, poultry processing, rabbit processing, biochar retort making, cheese making, and much, much more. Plus, you also get consulting services with moi. That is on Wednesday nights. Right now, we're every other Wednesday night because people just aren't showing up. Got people in the Tribe Plus, but evidently they've got it wired out because they're not showing up on Wednesday nights. This is we have a core group of people that come, but we're getting tired of each other because I've answered all their questions. You know, they're up to speed. And this is a Zoom call. It's not like this, a Zoom call where, you know, your picture's on there, my picture's on there, and you can ask me in-depth questions about different processes that you're trying to master on your homestead. Homestead's just a compilation of processes, just a compilation. And then there are sub-processes. And, you know, like getting good at cutting up a cow. Can you sharpen a knife? I mean, they've got to do that. Oh, well, we're going to have to shoot this cow. Have you ever shot a 22? You know, can you hit a milk bottle cap, you know, at 10 yards? So if you can get these things down, you surely can do processes. None of them are brain surgery. And I would reckon that brain surgery is just I haven't done it yet, but it's just a series of processes that you have to learn how to do. So consulting is valuable. It really is. When I have problems with things, I have to call people. My neighbor's one, Mr. Van Drie, I have to call him or his son. They know how to do stuff. There's another guy, Ty Stroud. I was having a lot of trouble with this pump yesterday. I finally got to the point where I was going to have to tell I give up, which I like to say that. And I didn't that. I just said one of the components is failing. So we have this vacuum pump assembly. It's a pump, it's a motor, it's a fan belt, two pulleys, and then it sits on top of a tank. Well, the tank works fine, has a gauge there, right? That gauge is working, has this little petcock here where you plug in the hose. That's working good, it's real good. The fan belt, wow, that's working great. It's just this one component, the pump. And the housing's working good, I think. But and the oiler, it's working real good, but there's some maybe that's cursed or something. So anyway, that's why you're going to want to join Tribe Plus. All right, that's behind all. But the information and the the course material and all that stuff that we put there, it takes time and a lot of effort to do it. And my son Joe is the guy that does the filming. I am usually the main character, but we got to keep him paid. Okay. So we always talk about fair trade in homesteading business, and if you want to get up to the next level, 49 cents a day to find out some of these things. All right, here we go. All right, I have the question that the guy wrote and sent to us, and I think it's good. Jill had several, and she said, I think this is the one that you're going to want to talk about. And so I'll read it to you. Okay. Starts off, is it worth it having so much stuff on hand to do such as multiple species of animals and gardening farmers market? Yeah, it's not, that guy must have dictated it. Having so much stuff on hand to do such as multiple species of animals and gardening farmers markets seems like it would not leave enough time for 3 kids and vacations with the family. Just trying to think this through. Well, I get that, because you might look at our lifestyle and say, gee, I don't know if that's worth it. And let's figure that out. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Obviously I'm doing it and it's worth it to me. So he wants to know, what am I getting out of this that makes it so worth the sacrifice? And he's coming at it from a point of ignorance because he is not doing the thing, right? He's not doing it. And so he's looking at it saying, see, I don't know. It looks like you got to have a lot of commitment there. And when are you going to go on vacation? Right? And I get that. So I guess we have to pick apart the worth part of it first. Is it worth it? What is worth? Worth is your perception of value. And it's an individual thing. So I could be, threading some pipes together, right? And I'm just saying that because it's laying on the table. This is thread compound. And I thread these pipes together, and then I turn the water pressure on, and I have a leak. And somebody says, oh, you didn't put any thread compound on there. I have some. It's $2.99 for this little tube. Is it worth it to you? Well, if I want to get water from point A to point B and I don't want it spraying, it certainly is worth it to me. But if you ask my wife if this would be worth it to her, she would be like, well, I don't even do that. I don't even know how to thread pipes, right? I don't, unless she's hiding some, and I'm not, I'm not throwing her under the bus or anything. I don't know how to do spreadsheets. She probably doesn't want to know how to thread pipes. I don't think I want to know how to do spreadsheets. It's not my thing. I don't really like that. It seems there's things that I like to do better, and I have plenty of them. So I kind of do my thing, and she does her thing. She enjoys her things. I enjoy my things, right? So when this individual is saying, "Is it worth it?" and then he cites a couple things that he's thinking, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. He's saying, uh, having so much stuff on hand to do multiple species of animals, he's thinking, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, let's just kind of pull that apart a little bit. Let's say, and I used to be here. I really did. I came out of the Air Force. I was not a farmer. I dabbled in it a little bit for a few years. We had a little homestead. We had some chickens. We had a couple of goats, believe it or not. I did have some pigs. I did farrow the pigs. I did have a butcher shop that I built there. Actually, it was a building that was there, and I retrofitted it as a butcher shop. But my mindset was, well, I got a job. I'm just kind of interested in this stuff. And we lived on this little 13-acre place, and my kids were small. To show them a good time, I didn't need to take them to Disneyland. They were small. They were perfectly happy with their tricycles and kittens and a little kiddie pool and BB guns. And they were perfectly happy. We didn't need to go to Florida to go to Disney World. We didn't need to. So, but when I got here to this farm, I thought, well, now it's time to get serious. And all the other farmers around me, they're all doing like one thing. They're all doing like black and white cows. And so I thought, well, maybe I should do that too. And I was influenced by a guy that's actually an auctioneer friend of my wife's from a long time ago. She used to babysit with him. And he says, hey, I know a guy that would probably really like it if you'd put hog houses in. You could raise, 10,000 hogs per house. And then this guy over here could spread your manure for you. And then Greenstone Farm Services, man, they'll loan you the money. You got good credit. You just coming out of the military. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's what you do around here. And that's what I should do. Went to Greenstone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you put in hog houses, man, we can loan you $1 million. No problem. You're going to have to use this contractor, of course. And you got to get the contract for the pig to go in the hog houses, and that comes through, this pork production company. And I was on my way. I mean, they were going to loan me the money. Hey, wouldn't that be great? I'd still be paying that money back. And this is 19 years ago. That ran aground, and it had to do with my Air Force-ness. The man that was supposed to write the contract was supposed to be here on a Saturday to see me, and he no-showed me. I immediately thought, coming out of the military, if you miss an appointment, you better have a bone hanging out of your leg or something's going to happen to you. And I figured he's an older man. I figured, oh, he must have died. Because I thought the civilian community had a level of professionalism as well. Some of them do, but most of them don't. And this guy was like, oh, well, I was up there Thursday, so I looked around. Yeah, you're good to go. But that didn't work for me. It just didn't. I just fretted about that, fretted, and I let, time lapse. And I really didn't want to do business with that guy. I just had a real problem with, I was wrapped pretty tight back then. I'm okay now. So for me, having one species and one process, I'm answering this guy, is not for me. I do not want that. I don't want to have just pastured poultry and do so many pastured poultry chickens in the summertime that my time is totally full. I don't have time to milk a cow. I don't have time to feed a pig. I am doing just pasture. I do not want that. I do not want that. I like diversification in my life. I like steak for dinner and pork chops the next night. I don't like steak every night. I like chicken once in a while. I like diversified, in most things. So no, I don't want to raise, thousands of hogs. And no, that is called monoculture or monocropping. And I'm not into it. I used to think that, hey, that's the way to go. That's what everybody around here is doing. If you do that, then Greenstone will loan you money. But it's a trap, actually. It's a trap. You don't want to do that. And most people nowadays, if you said, you know what, I want to start milking black and white cows, I'm going to milk 2,500 cows. Greenstone is not going to loan you money, or USDA. No, they're not going to let a new guy start up a process that has been failing for 30 years. Not going to happen. So you don't have to worry about it anyway. So having enough on hand for multiple species is okay with me. And here's why. We are in an environment, I'm in northern Michigan, and like several of my people here are close by, or in, they're still in the north. They're in Michigan, which is a northern state. We have 4 seasons. So we have a kind of a short summer, but for us, it's like sweltering, We have a very robust winter, I would say. This year wasn't that bad. We didn't have that much snow, but it was cold. We have a fall time, which is really nice. And we have a springtime, which we're in right now. We're in spring. It's warming up. I was working in just this shirt today for most of the day, and then I had to put on a jacket, just before I came in. With the change in seasons comes the inability to do certain things. Okay, so in the fall time, all of a sudden, it turns into winter. I cannot have my chickens out on the pasture in their chicken tractors. It's not going to work because we get heavy snow. The chicken tractors would collapse in the snow. Plus, the chickens don't do well in those conditions. So we can do chicks from, let's see, we started our chicks 3 weeks ago. We're going to keep them in the brooder for 1 more week, and then they're going out. I would have liked to put them out today, but I got overruled. And then we'll reload those chicken tractors 3 times. So every chicken tractor that I have holds 80 birds. If I reload, every time I reload it, I'm doing 80, 160, and whatever the next number is, and whatever, if I reloaded 4 times. So I know how many chickens I can possibly raise in the summer. We only reload them 3 times or 3 times. And that's because when we are done with chickens, we have another species ready to go. We have turkeys. It's November, and turkeys are ready. And then we have Thanksgiving, and most of our turkeys, we knock them off for Thanksgiving. Some people will buy turkeys at Thanksgiving, and they'll put them in their freezer. We used to say, we do 2 batches. We'll do the Thanksgiving birds, and then we'll do the Christmas birds. We don't do it anymore. If you want a turkey at Christmas, you're going to have to buy it at Thanksgiving time and freeze it on your own. We don't see, because of the season change, it's going from warm to cool. That's a good time to do butchering, right? So when we get done with turkeys, then it's the end of November. Then it's time to do pigs. Chickens are done. Turkeys are done. Now it's time to do pigs, right? We can do the pigs because we've got much cooler weather and we're not going to have um, flies. Flies are in the butchering business. Now, you might say, well, what about with chickens? Well, chickens, it's a small piece. It goes through line, goes into the cold water, comes out, gets packaged, and goes in the cooler. It's not like we're going to have a half a beef sitting on the table for 20 minutes while people, get things moved around. It's much quicker. And we need very little air conditioning, right? We have no air conditioning, but we do have a cooler box. It's like a big refrigerator. And we can flip that on in the morning. It'll cool it down to 38 degrees. And then when the chickens and turkeys go in there, they cool down to 38 degrees. And at the end of the shift, when people have come and got their animals or their chickens and taken them away to their homes, we shut the cooler off. Because what we don't want is we don't want a massive bill coming in at the end of the month for electricity. I mean, and it's massive. I mean, electricity costs a lot of money. And why would you pay for electricity to make artificial cold when real cold is just a couple days away, or a month away? Wait until it gets cold. So we will do pigs November, starting about November 1st, actually, is when we started. And we'll do them, there's a little bit of overlap. And then we'll do them into December, actually, December 15th. It's cold outside, but it's not brutally cold. Once we get into January, February, it's a little tough to be working outside. Then we're doing beef. And it's a much bigger animal. It takes way more cold to cool it down than a pig does. A pig, we can process that pig, split it in half, lay it out on tables inside our butcher shop, and we're not going to heat it at night. If cool down carcasses, and in the morning they'll be stiff, and that's what we want. It's not rigor mortis; it's just a cooling effect. We want all the heat out of that animal, and I didn't pay anything for that. Matter of fact, to go to work in there the next day, if it's too cold, we'll light the wood stove in there just so you can go with your hands warm, And it's not bad. It's not bad. You don't want to be in a super warm environment when you're taking pigs apart anyway, because they get pretty slippery. It's like processing a seal or a baby whale, something like that. They get pretty slimy. So we're working with the season change. Okay, and then we get into the cold weather and we have knocked down a beef. Those quarters are very big. We put them in. Then we're heating the building a little bit. We'll start up the wood stove, get it a little bit warm in there, because we don't want those carcasses to freeze solid. We want to age that meat for a period of time. Some of the parts of that beef, we're not going to age at all, because we're just going to cube it up, let's say, and can it, or we're going to cube it up and freeze it as stew meat or stir fry meat, as long as you're cutting it in small pieces. Some of it we're going to grind into burger, when we're not going to age that meat at all. We don't see a purpose to it. It doesn't really change the flavor of it, and when we grind it, the texture of it becomes hamburger, so it doesn't need to be. Now, some parts of it, like what I call the saddle, those are where the really good steaks are. That sometimes we'll put that in our cooler to keep it from freezing, but we can keep it in there like up to 3 weeks, and it really tenderizes really nice. So anyway, that's just that's a lot of information. So the multiple species thing, you actually can work with the multiple species very easily because of the seasons, right? Say that you need to take a vacation. If you're not milking cows, you could have a gap in your schedule very easily in there. And let me also tell you that I don't believe that, like this man here, I don't believe you should quit your job and start up a homestead. I don't think that. I do not believe that at all, because if you are working a job, you are probably not a farmer by trade. And the learning curve is moderately steep. It is moderately steep. I wouldn't say that raising a few chickens for eggs is brain surgery or really hard or a steep learning curve, but there are things you need to know. But then when you, the full spectrum, I would say way over here is, okay, butchering cattle. Um, there's infrastructure that you need. There is equipment that you need. There is know-how that you need. Is it beyond you? No, no. If you can shelves at the 7-Eleven, you can do it. It's just a question of training, right? We have actually, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but we've had people in our hog processing class that were, let's see, how do I put this? Mentally challenged. I mean, they lived in group homes, and then, they had to have somebody pay their bills for them. They had to have somebody do the majority of their cooking for them, and things like that. But when we said, okay, this is how you make a pork chop, and hand them a cleaver and a hammer to knock that down, and showed them how to do it. We had 2 guys in that class. They did fine. Showing them how to run the grinder. I mean, it's only got a throat on it this big. You couldn't get your hand in there if you wanted. And they were very cautious. They did not want to hurt themselves. So when they were cutting with a knife, I watched them. They were very cautious. And their guy, their caretaker, he knew, I mean, these guys were in their 40s. He knew that they could handle stuff like that if they were just shown how to do it and told to be cautious. And they were able to do everything. Now, that class is not inclusive. Like, we don't hand a rifle to somebody and say, go ahead and shoot that pig. We don't do that. We're not able to do that. However, we will, if somebody says, I've never shot a gun, we'll say, okay, you want, 15 minutes of training? Who has never shot? Come with me. And we'll take them over and we'll set some stuff up. And we'll say, okay, this is a 22 rifle. This is the bullet. This is where it goes. This is what you have to be careful of. You can give somebody a pretty good shooting class in about 20 minutes, and you can hand them the gun and say, see that? Here's how you line up. We're only at 10 yards. We're only at 10 yards. And I would recommend to them, buy you a gun. If you're going to do this, buy you a gun. Who am I, John Kerry? Well, get me a hunting license. No. Purchase a firearm and then become proficient at shooting that firearm. Buy you a gun. That's one of the steps. Not brain surgery. Not brain surgery at all. But we need to go through a few things. There was a girl that I knew. This is a funny story. I'm not supposed to do that, but she thought that the wheels were going to fall off and we're going to go to Mad Max, right? Mad Max scenario. So she's like, I got to get a gun. And she went to a gun store and they sold her a Ruger Red Label over and under shotgun in 20 gauge, right? And the salesman said, well, you'll probably want these rounds. And he sold her buckshot. Buckshot is like 30 caliber balls, which about the diameter of a pencil. And there's probably 6 balls in a 20 gauge. And she did not know. She took it to her place and she shot it a bunch, but she couldn't hit anything. And she asked me would I show her. And so she came here and she was just hanging things up in the trees, shooting them. And when she came here, I put a target in front of a barrel, a steel barrel, and it was all beat up. And then I put a double-aught buck in a 12 gauge, and she fired it, and we were quite a ways back, and we went and looked at it, and there's these jagged holes that it makes all through this thing. And she's like, wow, it went through the front of this barrel and the back of the barrel. I said, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. And she said, you mean the targets that I hung up, the bullets were going through it? I said, yeah, where did you put the targets? And she said, well, I just hung them in the trees. I said, what was on the other side? She said, there's a house there. I said, well, you better go. And evidently the home, she was in a real ritzy neighborhood. Her dad had a lot of money and got her a place in like Leland, Michigan, which is up there, and it's just like all rich people, rich liberals live up there. And she must have peppered the side of this house terrible, right? And had no idea that she did. I never heard from her after that. She was quite the specimen. You meet all kinds, but I bet that you've never met somebody who writes a cookbook about nutrition and then poses nude in the cookbook and sends one to me. Or no, maybe she gave it to me personally just before we sat down at the picnic table to eat dinner. Single gal, right? I am kidding. I don't know where the cookbook is. I think Jill disposed of it. I am not kidding. But anyway, just a little side note. So I think that for me, having been in this, having gotten into this, now I relish the multiple species. I've told you all the different things that we do. We have milk cows, we have beef cows, we have pigs, we have mama pigs, we have feeder pigs. Mama pigs are mama pigs, and feeder pigs when we're feeding their babies out for slaughter. We have pastured poultry. We have egg poultry. Pastured poultry would be meat. Layers are for eggs and manure. They give manure too. We have, and you see what I mean? We have a lot of things going. We have mushrooms going. We have our big gardens going to feed us. We have our grow area that's going where we plant crops for our pigs. We have our hay fields that we take care of, and that's feed for our cattle. And so we have a lot going. We have a campground, right? We have the 1/4 acre homestead. Not much there yet, but you'll see it's going to be stupendous. We're going to be doing a little bit of intern keeping this year. I have an intern that's coming, and we're going to see if we like doing that. And this intern is going to be staying. We have interns that come on a daily basis, and we like it. They're mostly friends or families, kids that come to work with us. Not little kids. I mean, middle school to high school kids. And, we kind of mentor them in the process. So we do a lot of different things. And I like that. I like the diversity. And we live by a saying here, if you do the thing, you will have the power. So if I sit down at a table, a picnic table or something, and we're having something to eat and we're talking pasture poultry, I have the authority to talk about it. I have the power to talk about because I do it, and I've been doing it for a long time. And I don't know everything. I'm always open to learning new things. And occasionally I hear something really good that I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. Milk and cows. I know very little bit about it, even though we have 40-something customers that are buying milk from us on a weekly basis. But I'm still learning the equipment and how to take care of milk cows. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to it. But again, it's a main process, say milking cows. It's a main process, but then there's all these subcomponents, lots and lots of them. And um, you can master, you can get up to the level of master cow milker, I guess. We should have like training records that we should create. And then when you come and take the course, we can get you checked off on it. And then you can show your certification. I am actually a certified Baker's Green Acres certified cow milker. And when we do our homestead hog harvest, which is a super class to take, we have so much fun. We have met so many people just in this chat right here. Let's see. Let's see. We got, look at this. Wow, we got a lot more than I thought. We've got Jay-Z, he took the class. Duncan took the class. No, Dave and Sonia, didn't take the class, but they've been here camping a couple of times. Dion took the class. Faye's taken the class. Belva, no, but she should. Nope, Debbie hasn't taken the class. Ryan's taken the class. And, well, so we have them here for 3 days to take the class, and so we get to know them. And you never want to, not know them after that. They could become good friends. Never underestimate the importance of a bloody handshake. Got to say that with an Irish brogue. All right, Tanya, I see you have a question, but that's not the nature of this show. What I recommend you do, seriously, I can't go on that rabbit trail. I got to stay with this topic. Go to the tribe, the Anyone Can Farm tribe on Facebook, and ask that question. If you're not on Facebook, then you can go to the Anyone Can Farm experience.com and join up Tribe Plus, and then meet us for a consulting call, not tomorrow night, but the following Wednesday. That's the whole idea of Tribe Plus, is you can get consulting whenever you need it, so long as it's Wednesday night. No, actually, if you got a problem, I will. If you're in Tribe Plus, I'll help you out. But I don't answer my phone and just answer questions anymore. I cannot do that. I have to, when people call the farmhouse, my kids will not give my number out because my phone rings constantly. And I don't want to just say, hey, I don't help other farmers out anymore. I just can't take that many. That was the whole reason that we went to this format, to answer questions like this. But now we have to go to the next thing, and that's Tribe Plus. We have to. Okay, Tanya Lynn. Okay. Okay, next part of this. He mentions going to farmers markets. I think people have an idea that if you're going to be in homesteading, then it includes farmers market. I do not go to farmers market. I think farmers market is a misconception that you work putting together all this stuff all week long. You take it to farmers market and you come back with a fistful of cash. What if you go to farmers market, you lay out your eggs and your milk? Oh, farmers market might not have milk there. They may say, oh, milk's illegal. You can't do that here, right? Because usually farmers market is on county property, right? And county property, they'll say, the county attorney will say, well, you better just comply with all of Department of Agriculture's regulations, just to be on the safe side. Well, I mean, you can't have eggs sitting out not in refrigeration, according to them. So how can you take eggs to the farmer's market? Well, put them in a cooler with some ice. Well, I'm not making that much on these eggs anyway. If I buy ice, I mean, what if, no, farmer's market doesn't really work out for me. Maybe if I was in a bigger population center, maybe it would. But for me, it does not work out because we wind up taking a pile of stuff to farmer's market and then we bring a third of it home. Well, then it's, if it's lettuce, it's wilted. If it's, that's not a good practice. Let's your tomatoes sit in the sun for 6 hours and then you don't sell them. Oh, we'll throw them at cars then going by. Throw them at the market master because she allows too many Amish people there that undercut everybody. Hey, Andy. Welcome, Tanya. So I'm not into farmers markets. I'm really not. We never did very well at them. We had people at the farmers markets doing weird things like buying produce and then reselling it. And so we couldn't compete with them. And there's just a lot of drama there. And I don't recommend it. If you come to me for consulting and you say, yeah, and I'm thinking about going to farmers market, if you're paying me for consulting, I will say, don't do that. I say you're better off having your customers come to you or setting up a drop point where you would take in and do a drop. But farmers market, nah, not good, because you're there with a bunch of other farmers. And let's say you all got eggs. This guy wants to not take any eggs home, so he'll drop his price by whatever. And then there's all this competition. When I price stuff, that's what I need to make if I'm going to do it. If I'm going to lose money, I'm not going to do it. So why would I take myself and my stuff to an environment where I'm going to have to drop the price on it? I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. There's better ways. So another thing that we do on this farm is we have a store, and people who are members of our farm can come up the driveway, stop in front of the store, run in, get whatever it is that they're here for. A lot of them are milk customers, raw milk. Raw milk is a superfood, right? And people who utilize it, no. People who listen to, the Department of Agriculture will say, ooh, raw milk, it's illegal, right? And I'm not here to debate that. I just know that I've been selling it for a long time, and I've never been arrested for it, right? So I don't believe that, and I'd have to ask you, at what point does it become illegal? Is it illegal when it's in the cow's udder? Is it illegal as soon as you grab that teat and squeeze it and it goes in the bucket? Is that when it becomes illegal? No? Okay, how about when you put it in a mason jar? Oh yeah, raw milk in a mason jar. That's when it becomes illegal. No. Okay, when you put a cap on it, does that become containing it? Okay, it's sort of like gunpowder when you put it in a pipe. No, it's not illegal. How about when it's in a motor vehicle, sort of like a gun? When you have a loaded gun in a motor vehicle, is it illegal then? Only if you don't have permission from the county sheriff. Because if you got permission, it's okay. You can have it concealed on your belt, and it's okay, right? It's kind of a joke, kind of stupid. So in reality, I'm not going to say too much about that because I kind of like people thinking that milk is illegal. It makes me feel like a bad boy, like, that photo? Bad boy selling milk. Yeah, I sell milk. I'm running milk shares. I got to have a really fast car so I can outrun the state police. Yeah, I'm using the turbo minivan. But if raw milk was illegal, then people would get busted all the time. What about that semi rolling down the road full of milk? And if raw milk was illegal, that would make cows paraphernalia. Or all my milking equipment, that's paraphernalia. Or a mason jar. If you put raw milk in this, that's paraphernalia. See how stupid it is? But I don't like to go into it because I like people thinking it is raw. I even kind of promote it myself sometimes. Yeah, it keeps the competition down. And then people that come to get it, they think that they're getting away with something, you know, if it's stolen. Maybe a really good deal. Crack me up. Okay. Seems like he goes on, he says, seems like it would not leave enough time for 3 kids. Well, actually, when kids are sort of like draft animals, if you ever notice. If you never had draft animals, you wouldn't notice. Kids, here's the thing with kids. When you keep them busy, it's a good thing. So we have this little rule around here. Sundays, we don't work on Sundays. We take a day of rest, all right, for whatever reason. You don't have to go into it. We just take a day of rest. Now, you still got to do some stuff. You still got to milk the cows. That's in the Bible. You can milk the cows. We still got to feed the pigs. We still got to do certain things. If the wood stove is out of wood, you got to go get wood, and that's kind of work. So what we do is we just don't, it's not a work day. So my kids like to take that to the extreme. The rule is out there. It's not a work day. So they like to say that, well, that's work. That's work. Hey, why don't you go out and shovel the snow down to the walk? Well, that's, Dad, that's work. We don't. Okay. All right. Well, and what happens? Not so much anymore. My wife and I have 8 children, and there was a time when there was a lot of the buggers here, and Sundays was fight day. They would fight with each other because they weren't busy, right? They would fight. They would get in little arguments, and I'm bored, and I'm this, I'm that. There's nothing to do, nothing to eat in this house. You guys are mean, all that stuff. We didn't have that during the week because they would get up, and this kid, you're the chicken guy. So you're the one that goes out, you feed the chickens, you water the chickens. Oh, Mark, why don't you automate that so it's easier? No, because I need that kid to have meaningful work. If I automate it, that kid doesn't have anything to do. So if that kid's like, oh, I want to watch cartoons, well, we don't have that. But so with 3 children, you're going to have a lot nicer people if they are busy. And if you have things on the homestead, like the chickens, like taking care of the pigs, like milking, like, there's the firewood detail, boys with an axe and fire splitting wood. I mean, they may be hating you, but they're putting their work into split. And what I remember my son Joe, I'd watch him like, oh, is he mad at me or what here? But he could split some wood. So actually, my kids, my 2 boys that are still home, there's 3 kids still home right now. My daughter is 18, so she's not too far out. So she's going to stay here while she goes to school for whatever that is she's going to do. It's kind of up in the air, but she can stay here as long as she wants. I'm not saying she's got to get out or anything like that. But my 2 boys that are still home, one is 11 and one is 13. Today, after they finish their school, in the morning we're homeschoolers. After lunch, which we had kind of a late lunch, I said, hey, you guys, I need you to do something for me. And when you're done, I'll cut you loose. And they're like, yeah, cool. Because when I say I'm going to cut them loose, that means I'm not going to bug them. And I try to honor that. So they said, what do you want us to do? And I said, move the plucker into place. And the plucker is our chicken plucker. And we had to disassemble it to get it out of the old butcher shop, move it into place, bolt it back together, and get it ready for me to wire. And I had something else I had to do. And they were like, okay. So they had to get the tools. They had to put the bolts in the right holes. They had to, reassemble it in a correct configuration so it's heading the right direction. It wasn't child's play exactly. And here's a 11 and a 13-year-old doing this. And when I went out, I had to say, now don't strip these bolts off, because if you do, we got real trouble. And they know what that means. Real trouble means, ooh. If raw milk is wrong, I don't want to be right. Zumwalt, get in here and sing that tune. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. If loving you is wrong. Okay. So, and they were hustling because they had something they wanted to do. All right. And I knew that they wanted to go do that, and they were up against the clock. They wanted to go to Ebel's. Ebel's is our store, and we live in a pretty rural community. To get to the store, they can ride their motorcycles there. There's really very few people on the road and a lot of dirt roads and stuff, and nobody really cares. Nowadays, kids don't do stuff like that, and so my kids on their little enduro motorcycles buzzing down the road, nobody cares, right? And I suppose it could be problematic for a law enforcement officer, but like we have one in the county, and they don't really care. I mean, these kids are just doing wholesome things. It's not like they're digging the roads up. They're not chasing livestock or anything. They're going to Ebel's, and when they get there, believe it or not, they buy 22 bullets and sells them to them. Because he asked me, hey, can your kids get 22 rounds if they want them? And I said, yeah, because they have their own 22 rifles that are in the gun cabinet. If they want to take them out, they just got to let somebody know. And the reason they got to let somebody know is so I can remind them to be careful and be sure your target, make sure that gun is empty before it comes in the house. Make sure you guys are stationary when you're shooting. I don't want somebody stepping in front of somebody else. And they've all been through a little bit of trauma training in case somebody does get hit with a 22 bullet. I mean, it does happen. Bullets ricochet, it happens. A kid in my town was actually killed with a 22. That he set on a rock, somebody else set on a rock, and it slid over, hit another rock, discharged, and hit this kid right through his heart, right center in his heart, and killed this boy. All right, so we know those things. We know these are dangerous processes, but these boys, I didn't just hand them a rifle when they were 8 years old. In the early days, they carried the guns out. I checked them before we went out, and then we sat down. We put a rope out that was the firing line. I was in the middle, one boy here, and I was the guy with the bullets in my pocket, and I would hand them one bullet. I would make sure that the targets were where I wanted them and the type of target that I wanted, because boys sometimes think that, I can shoot birds that, and my son did this. My son Keith did this with a BB gun. He was shooting at birds in the bird feeder that I had strategically placed in front of a picture window so we could watch the birds. And then there was 20 holes in that window. Oh, he says, I didn't know that would happen. BB gun, it happens, right? Live and learn. I kind of felt bad about that, but in reality, I never really trained him on that. He was one that kind of came between everybody. He's the one that's going through pararescue training right now at the U.S. Air Force. Andy, you know what that is. He's in that pipeline. Now he goes for selection next week, actually. So he's made it all the way. They've lost half their class. All right. But my kids these kids, all of my kids were like this, but these kids at age 11 and 13, um, I would hand them a loaded 45 and say, take this down to my neighbor so you can shoot a dog or something like that. I mean, I give them great responsibility, and I expect them to carry it out. And they've done really well. These guys do really well. They approached me 6 weeks ago. Hey, we'd like to buy 22 pistols. And as a dad and as an American GI, pistols, that's when people get in trouble, because with a pistol, you have a tendency to, like, you know, do the Clint Eastwood thing, or, quick draw, and you shoot your kneecap out and things like that. And I know pistols can be far more dangerous than rifles, because the business end is so much shorter, and you can swing it around so much easier and hit somebody else. But they saved the money that they made working for me, and I took them down and I bought them pistols. And so far, it's been really good. I've stopped them in the house and said, let me see that. And they hand it to me, and they're not allowed to come in with ammo in it. It has to be unloaded when they leave the place that they're going to shoot. So you can't ride around or walk around with a loaded gun and then decide that I'm going to shoot that cat. You can't do that. You have to go to a designated shooting area. You can shoot, you can load it and shoot it, but before you leave, it has to be empty. I don't mind if you walk around with it in a holster, but because for a boy, that's a very cool thing. I never had a pistol when I was a kid. I never even had a 22 rifle when I was a kid. My parents did that. We lived in town, and I didn't have a motorcycle. Wasn't trusted with very much. I mowed the lawn. I didn't even have to make my bed. My mother made my bed. Yeah. But my kids have a lot of responsibility. The last time we did pigs, which was just a couple weeks ago, I did the shooting just because I'm a better shot than them, and they're kind of low, and I'm up high, and I can get a better angle at the pig. And plus, it's traumatic when you hit a pig bad, and then you got to chase it around and shoot it again. I don't want that. So I did the shooting, and I lifted the pig out, brought it over to the area where we're going to process them, and they said, here you go. You guys take care of this, because I got to do this. And they're like pleased as can be when I walk away, because it's a much calmer and easier atmosphere when dad's not here. But I'm not too far away. I can watch them, and I've got enough experience to know when something's not going the way it should. I can just tell by the way they're standing and talking and all that stuff. But these guys have done this many, 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 many times, and they can handle it. They can handle the whole thing. And this is 11 and 13, but they've been doing it since they were 10 and 12, 9 and 11. They've been doing it. Maybe not all by themselves, but the majority of it by themselves, or lots of it by themselves. And then these pigs, once they were cut in half, these guys cut them in half. They hauled them into the shop, laid them out on the tables, and they processed them from there. And at that point, then Jill is in the shop, and she's overseeing the cutting and all that stuff. I didn't do any of it this time. I was working on other things. All right. So Brian's saying he was the same with chainsaws. Yeah. And Cash. Cash is the boy's name, is Brian's son's name, which I know well. Cash has been in our classes. I would love to have him for an intern here. Chainsaws are very dangerous things, and I like to stand very close to them when they're using chainsaws. I do, because I know a kid that got cut very badly with a chainsaw, and it was just a dumb thing. Cutting in the trees, I think that takes experience. That's when people get hurt with chainsaws, is trees down. I learned from a guy that I worked with, and I cut down a lot of trees and did a lot of trimming and stuff. All right. So as far as your kids go, this is the training aid that you've been looking for because it's meaningful work. And let's say that you don't understand a lot of this, like with Brian. Not that he didn't understand it, but didn't know, hadn't processed pigs, came to one of our classes with his son. Excellent bonding opportunity, right? And then they both take that knowledge home. And I think the next one they process their own pig at home. Excellent, excellent father and son time. Excellent. The things that happen here, fence building, where, 2 or 3 of us are working together for the entire day, and we finish up, you bond through that work process. So, and other things like that too. You could be playing Pac-Man with your kids and you can bond with them. But good hand-eye coordination, I guess. So it's not like useless, but wouldn't it be nice if you taught your sons and daughters meaningful work? And what's meaningful? What's work that's worth it, right? So let's talk about worth a little bit in 2023. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but when I look out, maybe it's always been this way and I just never really noticed it, but it's a little bit discombobulated out there, right? And I know people would like to talk about these things on this channel, but I am not going to, because I'm seeing things that have worth to me. So when I see some kid, some boy that is dressing up like a girl, and everybody knows what I'm talking about, and then our one of our favorite products, I guess, as a nation and blue collar workers and all that, goes and endorses a boy that is dressing up like a girl. And everybody's getting in this conversation. Well, gee, I don't know why Budweiser would do that, because most guys that drink Budweiser, they're real men. Real men. It's a distraction. It's a demoralization technique. And if you fall for it, you shouldn't fall for it. You should be putting that, take that whole thing, wrap a bow around it and put it on the shelf, and don't pay any attention to it. You shouldn't be drinking that beer anyway, really. And you shouldn't care about some dude that wants to put on girls' clothes and prance around in an eminent way. You shouldn't care about that either, but put it on the shelf and ignore it. And start thinking about, how am I going to get more tomatoes this year? Because that thing right there, either way, not any good comes from it. Let's say, well, if I had my way, I'd change that. Well, then what? We get to sell more Budweiser to the public? Oh, that's smart. No good comes from that. No good comes from, well, if we could get this guy to put on some Carhartts maybe and be a man, no good comes from that either. Forget it. It's just a demoralization technique. Same thing with the idiot that's in the White House. They're trying to demoralize you. It's a technique. It's used in warfare, and that's what's going on. So realize that, and then turn away from it, and focus on things that matter. Your kids on your homestead, I would never put my kids in school. What, so they can watch other kids make believe that they're cats, or that they're what? The list goes on and on, that kids are making believe. They're named, they're given a name, and let's say it's a female name, but they're saying, well, I prefer to be called this name. And I've I'm not a girl anymore. I'm a boy because I say, well, that's make believe. That's like some kid saying, you got the furries, they make believe they're cats. What if some 13-year-old says, teacher, from now on, I'm invisible. And the teacher, I suppose, these days would be obliged to say, oh, Tony's not here. Tony, say hello so we know you're here. And the other dumb kids in the room would say, well, that's a good idea. I'm going to identify as invisible from here on out. I think I'll identify as Mother Teresa. I think I'll identify as a gynecologist. Always been interested in that. So the world out there is crazy. You shouldn't have your kids in school anyway. I hate to tell you that. I hate to be so dogmatic about it, but I mean, this isn't like it was when I was in school when kids were, oh, can you believe that? Those kids are listening to the Rolling Stones. Oh, terrible. This is weirdness that's going on, and the adults are not in charge. So how can you send your kids into that environment? There's something wrong with you if you, well, I don't want to be that dogmatic, but I don't see how you do it. I don't see how you could send your kids into that environment. And I know some people have, are in a situation where they don't have a choice. And I understand that. But on the farm, on the homestead, you have this unbelievable canvas that you can use as a training aid for these children. Now, my children have gone on to do really great things. If you look at every one of them, they are doing really good things. And maybe if you study the word worth, you would say, well, is one of your children the CEO of Anheuser-Busch or the marketing director of Anheuser-Busch? I would be ashamed if one of my kids worked for that company. Honestly, I would at this time. My sense of worth has really changed. Really changed. Okay, I have a daughter that was kind of not sure what she wanted to do. And she was thinking she was going to do this and thinking and you know what? She's got a really good mothering instinct. And she wound up opening up a daycare center out of her home. And she's really thrown everything that she has at that. And she's providing a service that is essential in the society that we're in, which I don't agree with. I believe that moms should stay home with their children. I'm not on board with dropping your kids off, but that's where we're at. And these moms have to go into town to work, or they're choosing to, whatever it is. And my daughter's providing them with a service that's good, wholesome, and decent. It really is. And I used to think, well, I don't know, but wait a minute. It's honest work. It pays really well. And she's able to become who she be all she can be. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually honorable, decent work. Same thing with homesteading and farming. That is honorable, decent. That is God's work. I mean, we're working directly with his stuff. I don't wait to get told what to do during the day. I have to look into myself and say, okay, what needs to be done today? How am I going to prioritize the day? Am I just going to stay up in the house and watch reruns of Oprah Winfrey? I mean, she teaches you how to live, but I can't do that most days. Okay, so as far as your kids go, what are you thinking? Gee, if I'm homesteading, how can I take my kids to the bowling alley? Or well, maybe that's not a good choice. Bowling alley can be good. Or how can I take my kids to the movies? Boy, movies are lacking these days. How can I take my kids to watch TV? Why? That's a waste of time. You look out there and it's crazy world out there right now. You need to be teaching your kids how to do stuff that they're going to help them to what? Survive on Survivor Island here. If I'm wrong, so be it. They're going to have skills that they will use. If I'm right, you teach them these things on the homestead, and they may live in a time when a lot of people aren't doing so good. What? That couldn't happen in this country. Oh, really? Oh, really? Let's talk about the Dust Bowl. I mean, that wasn't something that was started from outside. That happened here. Let's talk about the Vietnam era. Let's talk about all the rotten stuff that went down. I was alive during that time. It was, people were trying to really draw our focus away from surviving. Luckily, I was in the Boy Scouts, right? And I grew up in a good home. Luckily. All right. So as far as your kids go and vacations, we really don't need to go on vacation. We have things that need to be done. Like last year, we did a homestead hog harvest down at DeCleric's house. It's 50 miles away from here. We got to stay in a different place. They had a TV. We put it on for a little while, and then we turned it off because it wasn't that good. But so it's like a little vacation. My kids got to play with their kids. We got to go out to Texas for a graduation. It's like a vacation. I mean, we got to go to a museum. We got to go to an Army Navy store and buy switchblades. So I think that vacations are overrated. When you get into homesteading business, you start realizing, what is it that I need? And it's like, honestly, I'm not kidding. The things that I like the most are the simplest things. Now, they are the simplest things. I was in the service and I slept in a lot of tents. I like sleeping in my room with my wife on a bed with covers. I like that. I like not being on a mattress, on a rubber mattress, on a cot, in a bag that's too hot in the summertime and not warm enough in the wintertime. I really like that, and I really enjoy that. And sometimes I think, wow, this bed, this is a queen size, is more here than I really need, actually, right? So I think your priorities change, and you realize that the American society, if you watch TV, you're being constantly hit with information that creates what? Anxiety. It's like, well, I don't have a $270,000 home like that guy has, in that. I don't have a $500,000 home. And I know kids, there's kids in my family. Yeah, I better leave that out. But they just don't feel fulfilled unless they're driving a brand new car and they're living in a $500,000 home. But they don't have, they don't have time to go on a vacation. Or if they do go on a vacation, they're putting it on the credit card. And so they're working themselves into a corner. And then after a while, it's like, well, why the heck even worry about it? Just get another credit card, I don't know about you guys, but this is not going to work. This is why the country is in the position that it's in, is because in 1971, we went off the gold standard, and it allowed the people in government to just write as many checks as they wanted. And don't worry, the Federal Reserve will just print, they'll cover it, right? And then we had reserve currency status for whatever reason. And a lot of other countries were dealing in US dollars. They still kind of are, but they're kind of getting away from it now as we speak. And so a lot of those dollars are coming home. And a lot of our dollars are going to be, we're going to suffer from inflation. We're already seeing it. Good place to look for it is at the pump when you get gas. It's not that there's no gas. It's just that the money doesn't buy as much gas anymore. You got to look at it that way. So when you're on the homestead, you can actually teach your children what is really important. As much as I love the Kardashians, it's not that important. It really isn't. Actually, I've never even seen them, but I use Bruce Jenner as an example a lot of times. You know, that's make believe. You know, courageous and brave because he puts a dress on. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not playing along. Yeah, that's funny, but I'm not playing along. I'm just not going to. All right. And you know, so and so is a boy, but says, well, now I'm a girl. I'm not playing along. I don't play along when they say I'm invisible. You know, I'm invisible. I'm not playing along. So the homestead is really a good place to deal in reality, right? You can have all your. It's just like in that movie. Um, Secondhand Lions. I love that movie. The two old men and they take in this guy, this young kid, and they're wanting to be farmers, right? And so they're doing all this stuff and they plant their garden and they put on their overalls and they have, you know, they're chewing tobacco and everything and they put their garden in and they're standing back and it's, well, this one says parsnips, but it looks the same as this one. And this one says tomatoes, but it looks the same as this one. Well, this one says corn. And that looks like corn. And they all look like corn. Well, you can believe that it's parsnips, but it's not going to make it parsnips. No, it's corn, right? So there's a certain reality that exists in the homesteading world. It exists in my heart, but I bring it to homesteading. You know, we can say that, you know, my son, well, he's transitioning into a tomato plant, but it's not real. It's not real. We're not going to be able to pick tomatoes off of them. So reality is a good thing. The truth is a good thing. Stay away from all, and they're not going to pull some other fluff on you, but stay away from it. You know, look at it and say, haha, funny. And then, but don't get caught up in the argument. Look, the people that get the most outraged, Kid Rock, for instance, you know, he spends time at the White House and this and that, and he makes his video and he puts all this beer up, this Bud Light, and then shoots at it with a submachine gun. And his rounds coming from the side. I don't know if you saw that. There's like tracer rounds coming from the side. And I mean, it's totally staged. And we're supposed to think that he got so outraged that he went out there, got his MP5 out, and shot up a bunch of cases of beer. He's part of it, right? They all are. Anybody that's and I am not going to be, but I'm just telling you this because you need to focus away from the foolishness, you know, that foolishness. And I don't care what it is. Anything that they come out with now, unless you see it with your own eyes, disregard, you know, and I don't care what it is. Honestly, I really don't. I don't care if it's supposed crazy violence going on someplace. Disregard. Even if it is happening, how does it affect you? Focus on, you know, getting your homestead together, because either way, that homestead is going to bend. Let's say the wheels stay on and we just cruise into 2024 and oh my, they elect some guy that we have never heard of and he's just a replica of the Nazarene, and he comes down and he just starts fixing everything. Hey, your homestead's still going to pay you because I don't know if you know this. I think most people do know this. The food that's available in the stores is not good and is making you sick. And it's intentional. All right. So producing your own food is a really good thing. And narrowing down, I do what you want, but I've narrowed down my diet to the things that we produce on this farm because I'm not okay with. Even the other day, I told you guys, I picked up the salad dressing and I thought, well, salad dressing, you know, we grow our own greens and all this stuff. And I'm just putting salad dressing on. Then I read it. It had a list that you can't even read unless you have double magnifying glass. Doesn't that kill you? That they write it so small you can't read it with the naked eye. I mean, I have to wear reading glasses, not all the time, but sometimes, and you can hardly read the stuff, and you can't pronounce anything on there, and you're putting that in. And then we had some pickled asparagus that the Amish put, and I don't know how they're getting away with it, but and the ingredients is water, salt, vinegar. It's okay. That's okay. I'll eat that. You know, and now maybe there's glyphosate in the water. And they're not putting that on the label. Well, I'm going to do everything I can to increase my chances. Okay, that's rabbit trail. Okay. I'm glad he says vacations with the family. I think that you'll find that vacations are for family bonding. Hey, you remember the time we went to Disneyland? First of all, you go to Disneyland now, you're going to see the weirdness that you've never seen before in your life. I don't know if that's a good, wholesome environment. I used to go to the one in California when I was a kid. Not a kid. I was working for an aircraft company out there, and me and my friends would go down there, and we were down there just to, have what we thought was adult fun. And I mean, I wouldn't take my kids there now. I didn't think it was that good. I think there's way better things to do, like maybe a rowboat out on the pond. I think that's a good thing to do. I didn't know Northern Michigan there's ponds everywhere. I got a rowboat. I got a fishing pole. We got worms. I mean, that's an amazing thing to do with your kids. Just amazing. My kids love it. We got kinds of stuff for having fun. And if you kids can't have fun, darn it all, then we'll be stacking wood, because I know that's fun. Okay, Dad, we're having fun. We're having fun. All right. I'm glad you're just trying to think these through, but I hope I've offered some insight. Homesteading for you, in a lot of ways, this guy here, it's a road that you've never traveled. And I hope I've given you some insight as to what's on that road or what can be on that road. And me and my family, it's a certain flavor here than it would be different than at Andy's house, because their interests are slightly different than ours, or maybe really different than ours, right? And they live in a totally different part of the country. And, I haven't even had the opportunity to scratch on that, but I'm looking forward to the day when Jill and I have a Winnebago and I say, I'm going on tour and I'm going to your place, Zumwalt. You mind if we come down and park our Winnebago at your place for a day or two, just so we can see you, just so we can have campfires with you, just meet your people, see your processes, and then go on to the next, So there you go. That's my take on it. And I would tell you, I think I've given you a little bit of insight as to what's important to me, as a 20-year homesteader now. I'm 20 years into this, maybe even longer than that, maybe 25 if you count our last farm. What's important to me? I can give you the top 5 things that are important to me. Number one. Tell you what, I get a real charge out of seeing my little boys. Now they're not so little; they're 13 and 11, on their motorcycles with 20 pistols on their hip, riding around, building jumps, going over it, and just being happy as can be. Hey, Dad, do you mind if we go up the Amish store? I don't mind. Just don't take the guns with you. No, that's okay. We won't take our guns. I get really thrilled to see them do that, because I would have loved to have that boyhood, or for them to take their fishing poles and head down to the pond and pulling, goldfish and chubs and stuff. That's really cool. Or, hey, Dad, can we go fishing tonight? If you got worms, I'll go. And they dig the worms. I mean, what could be better? Hey, can we stop at the store and get some pops? You bet we can. I'll buy. You know, that really turns me on. Or let's say it's a Saturday afternoon. I say to my wife, hey, you want to go for a ride? Yeah. She just hops in. Where are we going? I don't know. Let's just drive. Let's get a cup of coffee. Last Saturday night, where did we wind up? Oh, we wound up at China One King Booft. It's a Chinese place. Like, I just made a comment about food. Yeah, I'll go out on a limb a little bit and go to a restaurant. I mean, you know, it's worth it. We went to a restaurant, one of those ones where you get to pick up and bring it back, all you can eat, you know. That's important to me. That's free time is important to me. Time to just goof off. What else? On my homestead, I get to go out, and if my cows are laying down, I can lay down in front of them and lean up against them and smell everything. Smells good. Listen to them, you know, licking them, you know, licking their nose that makes a noise, belching, farting, you know, just it's the warmth up against my. I really enjoy that. I get to go out here and do my cold plunge in the morning. And if I go out there in my skivvies, it doesn't matter, right? Because I have space around me, you know, unless somebody drives down the road and happens to catch me at the right time. And if they do, I don't care. You know, I don't care. You know, are they going to cancel me? I don't care. I like my lifestyle. I like to be able to walk through our garden in summertime and eat a tomato. I'll pull out a potato if I feel like an idiot. I'll eat Brussels sprouts right out of the garden. I'll eat raspberries off the bush, right? I love that. I love to be able to sit out in the back at nighttime and I can see the stars. I mean, really bright. I can see the stars. I like that. I can hear nothing. Go out and I can hear nothing. I can hear the peepers, you know, the frogs, tree frogs, the coyotes howling. The highway's shut down. I mean, nobody's on the highway, so you don't hear it. Even though that's several miles away, sometimes during the day, if the wind's right, I can hear semis going by, just barely, you know. Jake break. If someone's doing a jake break, going past where we live, it's several miles away, but you can hear it. I like the good food. I like eating dinner with family at our big table. I like this weekend is going to be my birthday and my whole family's coming over. And I like that. We have plenty of space. We'll have campfire. Kids might want to shoot 22s. They might have fireworks. They might have, you know, you never know what's going to happen with somebody. Well, firework fights, bottle rocket fights. I mean, that's a long tradition here at Baker's Green Acres. So that's what is worth it to me. Is it worth it? Oh, absolutely. I would do it again in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, if you asked me, well, if you weren't doing this, what would you do? I would have a real hard time coming up with something to tell you. I really and truly would. I mean, I've been drawn to the ocean, but it scares me. It does. Just not scares me. It's just, I mean, because nothing scares me, but I'm not ready for that learning curve. I'm not ready. When I look down into deep water, it worries me. So I've told you guys, if I was to leave here, I would buy a shrimp boat and go down to the Gulf Coast. I don't think I would, actually. And I don't think I'd go to Alaska to fish either. I don't. It's gone. I don't want to do that anymore. I like this. I also have that I want to develop here, like milking, my dairy. I want to develop that. I want to go to the 10 cow dairy concept. I really want to develop that. It's exciting. I love doing it. We just expanded our butcher shop. We put in campground. That is really fun because then people, get to come and visit us. I'm looking at you, Mike Bacher. I haven't seen you on here in a long time. Cool. Got your site all picked out for you. I mean, it's reserved for you. Kind of miss my buds. Old Banner, man. Miss them. So this lifestyle is a very rich lifestyle. There's prosperity in it. Now you might be saying, the guy that asked me this question, well, are you making big bucks? Well, that's relative. If you live in Chicago, let's say, and you want to live in a house that I live in here in Chicago, you have to have a really high paying job, which means you have to make sacrifices to be able to have that. And the sacrifices people get caught up in these days is a long drive, having to just check your feelings at the door or your opinions at the door. Whatever they say is okay is okay. I can't do that. I mean, and long hours. You're there for a 12-hour shift. And then your family, forget that. I mean, if they need you, you're in there, right? Yeah, but I'm making the big bucks, so I can afford to, have this $500,000 home. Or if I had the same home in northern Michigan on a homestead, it's not worth $500,000. So our economies are not the same. They're not the same. And so my economy here, if I do a butchering job for somebody, or I butcher 4 of my pigs and sell them, and we knock back, say, $3,000, that's good money for me. But if I lived in Chicago, $3,000, it's like that's a mortgage payment, or not even. A mortgage payment would be $500, and I haven't even made that. So it's relative. Is it worth it to me? Yes, it is. Do I make enough money to survive here? I certainly do. And then some. I'm not surviving, I'm thriving. We're able to, of course, we've learned a lot about business too. And the education business and the tribe membership has become very important to me. Why is the tribe important to me? Because when I leave this world, I need to leave something behind that continues. And if one person on here has learned how to do something, then I'm not leaving a net gain of 0. I got one above. But, we can do more than that. We could leave, 1 million above. And the tribe, we have just scratched the surface of a tremendous thing. Why? Got me on a roll. But a lot of people that are on here now are brand new tribe people. They just joined up and they're hearing this, or they'll hear tomorrow. These shows are exploding. Lots of people are hearing them. But American people are the most giving, generous, give you the shirt off their back people. Now, this operation that we've just been through, and I'd say it started with sort of like with the Obama administration, And then we had the Trump administration, and then we slid right into the Wu flu. It was an attempt to make Americans not be Americans. And maybe it worked for some of them. I was in a hardware store yesterday in town, and I go in, hey, how's it going? You know, and the people that are in there, they're town people, and they say hi to me. I don't know how they feel about me exactly, but they say hi, and you know, they'll make small talk with me and all this stuff. They want to sell stuff to me. And then turn around, I'm walking out, and the guy walks in, hey, how you doing this morning? I go out of my way to push people out of their comfort zone. And you know what their comfort zone is? It's like, look straight ahead, keep my little mask on, I'm hiding behind it. We don't have that anymore. So now I am pushing them. I'm pushing them. A woman came in, and it's like she took one look at me, and I swear she pooped herself. Like, why? Because I said, how are you this morning? You know, like that, because I knew she was timid. I said, hi, how you doing this morning? You know, or morning, ma'am. Like that. And she said nothing, but she just looked at me like this as she walked by. And that is part of the operation that we've just been through. That was an attempt to solidify that to where we all become like New Yorkers. You know, they don't look at each other. Remember Crocodile Dundee? He pulls up in a limousine. He's sitting in the front seat, waiting at a red light. There's a couple guys there. And he says, how you doing? And they're like, oh, good. And then he introduces himself, and they're like, yeah, fine, whatever. And then he goes, maybe I'll see you around. See you. I used to be like that. You want to hear a good story? All right, we're at the end. I can tell you a good story. This is a good story. This really happened. When I was 17, I worked in a gas station. And I had a friend whose sister owned a TR6, right? A Triumph TR6. And it was like so this would have been in 1977, and this was like a 75. So it was fairly new. And she would let him drive it down to the gas station to put gas in it, take it to the car wash, and then bring it home. And he thought it was the greatest thing. He was a little younger than me. And he would bring it to the gas station, and then something would go wrong. It had two carburetors on it, and it would not want to start. And he would undo this little cap on top of the carburetor, and you pump it up and down, and then screw it back on. He'd do it to both of them, and screw it back on. And I saw him do it a couple of times. That's all I knew. I never worked on a Triumph. I was mostly pumping gas and doing tires and oil changes in this gas station. And this guy wasn't a great friend of mine. He was just a guy I knew. And that was it. I got a job after that working for Lockheed Airplane Company out in California. You know, I was in Massachusetts, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. California. I was used to watching Chip, you know, there's all beautiful women out there and beaches and all that stuff. I get out there, and there's none of that hardly where I was living. It was just a city and smog and traffic, and it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. And I didn't have much to do. And I wound up going to the bank once a week, and I would take money out, and that would last me for the, you know, I didn't have a credit card back. I don't think they even had them. This would have been in like 80, 81. I had a motorcycle, brand new. And I'd pull into this garage, and I'd go and stand in line in the bank. And I had nothing else to do. I was working night shift. I was working swings. So I'd be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I came out, got on my motorcycle. I'm sitting there for a minute looking at my money, and this gal comes out, and the next car over is a TR6, Triumph TR6. And this gal was, you know, she was older. She was probably 24, as I was 18 or 19. I was 19. And here I am on this brand new CB 900 motorcycle, and I'm just sitting there, and she was way out of my league for sure, right? She had this car, and she was maybe 25, 26 maybe, but dressed, hair, good looking. I still remember how taken back I was. And I was just this scrawny kid. And she doesn't pay any attention to me and gets in the car. It's a convertible. Click. Click. And I pulled my helmet off and I hung it up on my mirror. And I looked at her. I said, I might know what's wrong with that. So she didn't even know how to get the hood open. So I got the hood open. It opens the reverse way. And I propped it up. She gets out. She's standing on the other side. I'm on the passenger side. And I pull these things out and I pump them up and down. Let's twist it back in. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at all these different things. It's a new car. And also looking at her pretty closely too. And I said, give that a shot. And so she gets in, she starts it, and it starts. And she looks at me, and all of a sudden she's noticing me. And she said, oh, thank you. Can I do anything? And I said, no, it's all right. I'm just doing what I do. And she says, well, can I buy you a drink? And I said, yeah, sure. And that was it. It's like I didn't go any further than that. And it was almost like implied that, oh, yeah, I'll see you around. We're in this huge city, Los Angeles. I'll probably see you, in the parking lot at Lockheed. I don't know. Millions of people. I'll probably see you around. Like there's one bar in town. Well, if it was in my hometown, there was only one bar in town. So if she had said, I'll buy you a drink sometime, the only place you could buy me a drink is at the Lantern Room. And anyway, I never did see her again, but that was just, I always kind of wonder what would happen if I said something like, yeah, let me give you maybe give me your phone number. I probably would have got in a lot of trouble. So it's a good thing it didn't work out because I didn't know much about girls back then, especially them women from the big city, right? I was just this little hick kid, with a nice motorcycle. But anyway, that's a true story. All right, let me read what we got here, and then I'm going to have to get going. Oh, wow, it's 9:59. Ooh. Okay, a lot of you must have left. Okay, David Duncan is saying, hey, man. Catherine McKenney says, you could not be more right. Well, I don't remember what she was referring to, but I usually am right. David Duncan, hey, man, Bruce Jenner was Woman of the Year. What a crock. He was Woman of the Year, and he wasn't even a woman for a year. Aiden's Anchor. Happy spring, y'all. Must be from south of the Mason-Dixon to say y'all. Jeremy Huggins. Good evening. How you doing, lad? 50 amp RV hookup ready to go. All right. We don't have 50 amps. We don't have any amps. Mike Bacher, my kids loved it hanging with your kids. Well, it's one way to alleviate that. Let's do that again. We'll go to the beach again, too. Same place. That was fun. We made memories that day. Mike's saying that is a childhood. Yeah, it is. Looking forward to Tribe Day this summer. Crunchy Mama, the pig shooter. Let's build a biplane and really live. I really enjoy watching secondhand lions. Oh, yeah. My wife's grandfather, he lived to be 95, right? When he turned 70, he retired and sold his business. Very successful road painting business. I'm not sure if I have the the age is exactly right, but he was somewhere around 70. He might have been 75. And he went to Florida and got his seaplane license, bought an airplane, right? And he never did fly it was a Cessna 182. He never did fly that by himself off the lake. He always took somebody with him that had a seaplane rating. But in the last years of his life, I think he lived to be 95. He would watch that movie over and over and over. And he was still there. He was still doing really, really well. He died quite suddenly when he was 95 of something, but he loved that movie. Dying with Your Boots On and all that stuff. Great movie. Yeah, we miss you guys too. I keep up on all your rantings on all your stuff on Facebook, Mike. David Duncan, this way of life is worth it and more. Right on. We've just barely scratched the surface. And what's really neat is when we come together as a tribe, that is really cool. That's when the magic happens. All right. Got to go. Appreciate everybody coming by. And remember, if you have the chance, get on over to theanyonecanfarmexperience.com and join up with the Tribe Plus. Please. Thank you. Good night.